Nicolas Jackson is a very lucky man. Chelsea won, Nottingham Forest won. This is the match review. I know I'm very late to this. I've not been in the office and I've not had all the capabilities of recording this YouTube video until now. I've also been a little bit ill. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the positives and the negatives from the Chelsea-Nottingham Forest game and also talking about Nicolas Jackson being a very lucky man. I do have a different perspective and my opinion has changed since the game has been played, purely because I've seen more and more of the game over and over, different highlights, different perspectives, and kind of really thought about the current Chelsea and the result that we got against Nottingham Forest. So if you are new around here, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and let's get into the video. So was the Chelsea-Nottingham Forest game that ended 1-1 2 points dropped or a good result for Chelsea? Now initially, the knee-jerk reaction was this is 2 points dropped. But in the reality of things, I think this is an improvement on Chelsea. We literally lost this game last season at home to Nottingham Forest. We lost 1-0. Now, Nottingham Forest, you have to give their flowers. You have to give them credit where it's due. They are a very well-drilled team, the second best defence in the league. They had a game plan and they stick to it. It was dark, it was gritty, it was a win by any means necessary type performance by Nottingham Forest. They were really using the dark arts any way that they could. We had 13 minutes of additional time in that second half, and that's when the game kind of unfolded into chaos. There was multiple fouls, multiple bookings ascending off. There was a big touchline fight that happened, and it's all because Nottingham Forest played a low block, they played a 5-back, they played counter-attacking football, and they frustrated the living daylights out of Chelsea. For Chelsea, this was their first real test going up against a low block and a team that are very well drilled. We found it incredibly difficult to break them down. As a lot of people have said, you know, we're expecting teams to play a low block, and this is nothing new for Chelsea in the last few years. Low blocks and counters and set pieces specifically are the three main things that we struggle to play against, and we don't adapt. However, in this game against Nottingham Forest, we did find a way back and we were knocking on the door to go and take the 3 points. We had multiple opportunities to take the 3 points, which is very frustrating and disappointing. But on the flip side to that, Nottingham Forest also had some incredible chances to take the 3 points away from us. So I think at the end of the day, a 1-1 draw, if you watch the game, seemed very valid. It seemed very fair. So if you look at it on the surface level, you go, oh, it's 2 points drop. That can come back to bite us later on in the season. But when you watch the game and you watch it again and you watch the highlights, I think a draw is fair. Now, the one negative that I will reiterate is Chelsea need to improve their set-piece defending. We conceded from a set piece again. Standing still, letting Nottingham Forest win that header too easily. It was then flicked on and then flicked into the net. Now, I'm going to say that Robert Sanchez couldn't do absolutely anything about that goal. Like, he was just left standing there because once it takes a deflection in the box, coming at pace, he's not going to be able to do anything and react quick enough. We have a new set-piece coach. Our corners were shocking. They were absolutely shocking. Every corner that went in didn't even beat the first man or was cleared straight away. Like, it just didn't make any sense. And defending set pieces, we are just atrocious. Like, there are certain games where we look a lot better at it, but it's nowhere near the level it needs to be going through the season. One of the positives and negatives of this game is Noni Madueke. Now, I personally really like Noni Madueke. I really rate what he does as a footballer. And Enzo Maresca picks him over anyone on the right-hand side, game in, game out. And there's a reason why. We finally have a 1-versus-1 winger that will always try to beat a man and get the ball in the box, beat a man and take a shot. Now, I will admit, I am very reactionary and very quick to say that Madueke should be passing it a lot more. His decision-making is terrible, and I still think that that is the case to a degree. Hear me out. During the game, there were many, many opportunities where he beat his man, and he could have passed it and didn't, and he'd take a shot on instead. There were also times in the match where he took a shot on when he should have passed it instead. I think that needs to be more clinical and it needs to be assessed. He needs to improve on that. He is very young. He is improving as a player overall, game by game. He's had a very, very good start to the season. And Noni Madueke actually got our equaliser because he kept beating his man and taking on that shot, and he got his reward in the end. So for me, if it pays off, I don't mind. But when it's not paying off, that's when you go, oh, look at all of these opportunities that were created or chances that were missed or decisions that were poorly made. So I understand people's frustrations from it, and I get very frustrated with it too. However, that's the type of player that Chelsea have. If you look at it on the left wing, we had the complete opposite problem where people were saying, Sancho, why aren't you shooting? Sancho needs to shoot more. He's always looking to assist someone. He's always looking for the right pass when he should be shooting. I just think that they're just two different types of players, and that's why Enzo Maresca loves them so much. Noni is always looking to either get on the score sheet and beat a man, and Sancho is still looking to beat a man, but he's always looking for the best possible pass afterwards. And it will balance itself out. And to be honest, I do think Sancho had a few opportunities where he'd done all the hard work and didn't take the shot, and it was quite baffling. He was trying to unlock a pass for someone else, and that's fair enough. It's two different types of players. But overall, I think Noni Madueke is a net positive. He's been fantastic in the first 7 games of the season, scoring 4 goals, maybe grabbing a couple of assists. He had a very, very good game overall, even though it was very frustrating to watch. And again, that's the luxury of doing this review like 5 days later, as I've had time to sit on things and watch things again and go through the highlights and pick out certain players and watch them specifically. Noni Madueke had a very good game. Now, before we talk about the touchline bust-up, there's one last thing, and that is Chelsea are a work-in-progress team, and I still don't want Chelsea fans to get ahead of themselves, being like, we're going to contenders for the title, we're going to win this, going to win that. I'm all for being, emotional and enjoying the victories. I always say, take it for what it is. But like I said, last season, we lost this exact result at home, 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. This season, we drew. Now, because of the way Nottingham Forest were playing and trying to stop Chelsea at every given moment, they did very, very well, and they got the point that they were after. And if we didn't come back into the game, they would have taken the 3 points. To me, that shows a work in progress, and it shows that we have improved, especially with a new manager, a new system. The players have gelled together. We've still had new additions into that, but the spine of the team is very gelled now, and it's starting to work a lot more cohesive. Chelsea are on the right path. Now, I am going to say that the Christian Eriksen sending off was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. Guy made no attempt to get the ball whatsoever, and we will never know whether Jackson would have scored that opportunity going through on goal if Eriksen didn't dive to the floor like a goalkeeper and just grab the ball. Hey, we'll never know, but at the same time, at least Eriksen was sent off. Unfortunately, Chelsea couldn't capitalise, even though we had the chances. And Nkunku and Felix missed sitters in the air. They just should have been goals. And any other game, they would have been goals. Now, let's talk about the touchline bust-up. Cucurella and Fofana are now suspended due to having 5 bookings already this season. That's 7 games played, 5 bookings for each of them. So they missed the Liverpool game after the international break. And you may say, Jay, it doesn't matter. We've got Vega and Tosin to fill in that hole against Liverpool. And you are 100% correct. But there is one thing that only ever slightly concerns me, and that is the discipline. I wasn't looking into it too much when we got fined another 50 grand against Nottingham Forest. Both teams were, for failure of controlling our players. I understand that was a touchline bust-up. It doesn't look great. And there was a lot of bookings that game. I get that. The match previous, when we had the same sort of treatment, was when Anthony Taylor basically booked anyone that watched the game. So it was absolutely ludicrous. There was so polar opposites in terms of discipline. However, when you do break it down, you go, we've got two defenders with 5 bookings in 7 games. They missed the next one. You go, is there an issue of discipline? I think most of our yellow cards this season haven't even come from tackles. They've come from dissent or, player antics, essentially. Now, when you actually break down the touchline bust-up, I don't actually understand. Well, at first, I didn't understand why Cucurella got booked, because you think, well, he was pushed over. It started the kerfuffle. Enzo Maresca was taken out because it was a push on Cucurella. But when you really look at it again, it's because Cucurella body-checked the player before the other player took him out, and it's completely off the ball. So that's why he was booked. And I know that there were a few bookings throughout that touchline scuffle, and I'm in mixed opinions about this, because it's so good to see as a fan that your players back your coaching staff, back your manager, and back each other in a scenario like that, and they're all kind of standing their ground, standing on business, saying, not in our back garden, and you don't do that. I love that from a spectator's point of view, but the consequences of that is multiple bookings and the potential consequences of what could happen. And this is why Nicolas Jackson is a very, very lucky man. After the game, it surfaced that Nicolas Jackson actually slapped a Nottingham Forest defender during all of that scuffle, and it wasn't seen on the pitch by the ref. However, it was seen by VAR, and at the time, they said no further action. It's not deemed to be violent conduct, and it was kind of not really spoken about. After the game, I think probably 8 hours after the game, or maybe potentially the next day, They said the VAR and FA are going to re-review it. Now, normally when things are re-reviewed, there is a punishment to come, especially if you're laying your hands on a player that is above chest height. Like, we just know anything from here upwards is a red card, it's a ban, it's a fine or a suspension or whatever. And on this occasion, after they re-reviewed the footage, they stuck to the on-field decision and said no further action, which means Nicolas Jackson is a very, very lucky man to not receive any form of punishment. Now, it was nice to see like the contrast in players. When this scuffle went on, Cole Palmer was just sat behind all of them, not a thought in his head, mate. Just sat on the floor like, all right, I'll get up when we can play football again. And it's such a different mentality. Now, a lot of people are saying, but he was already booked, so he couldn't get involved. I genuinely just think he's not that type of player, and he's not that fast. He was just like, cool, like, get your handbags out. Once it's finished, we'll play football, and I'll let the football do the talking. But it was really good to see people like Levi Colwill for, like, you know, not the first or second time this season where he's grabbed a player by the scruff and been like, you know, back off, not in our back garden, we are Chelsea. And he's really shown his leadership qualities, and I genuinely think he'll be Chelsea captain very, very soon. So no Fofana, no Cucurella due to suspension, but very lucky to keep Nicolas Jackson available for the Liverpool game. So that whole scuffle, when you look at it and you deep it, it started out nothing, right? But it was more of a respect thing. You pushed a player into our manager. The manager's not on the field. You know, that they're off ground. You don't harm them at all. Like, even trying to, even if it's not intentional. So I understand why it started, but again, like, that kind of set off the last 13 minutes of pure chaos. Robert Sanchez kept us in this game, and he deserves his own little segment of where I just talk about Robert Sanchez. He made some incredible saves to keep us in the game and keep the point staying, keeping the game a stalemate. Unbelievable saves. The saves he made in the final minutes, the saves he made throughout the second half, even the first half when he was called upon. Great shot stopper, fantastic distribution. There is a bit of a caveat to that because it's very easy to play out from the back when the defending team plays, you know, 5 back and a low block. They're going to give you a lot of space in your own defensive areas. But that's not to take any credit away. Robert Sanchez was fantastic against Nottingham Forest. He deserves his flowers. And for me, I think he was our man of the match. He has to be, purely because of the saves he made to keep us in the game. That injury time header, like where he's you know, reaction times to get down and like kind of scoop it round the post. Unbelievable. And what I really admire about Robert Sanchez, and this is something I'll hold my hands up and say I've publicly said I don't have faith in Robert Sanchez's ability. He's changing my mind because even though he may have an odd, bad game, overall this season he's been fantastic, and we're starting to see why Enzo Maresca is picking him as Chelsea's number one. After the Brighton game, he knew that he made their mistakes. He knew that. He didn't need to be told, but we all obviously highlighted it. You're going to. He put a post out on Instagram saying he was getting threats and he was being abused. And rather than taking a victim mentality of like, oh, please stop doing that, he took it on the chin and was like, right, I want to make it up to the fans. And he did that in the very next game by keeping us in it with some amazing saves. So fair play to Robert Sanchez because he's taken on board what the fans think and say. And he's really trying to implement and improve his game to be the best he can be for Chelsea. And I think if he does continue on this trajectory, he's going to have a hell of a season. So overall, I think it was a very fair result, you know, when you take into account both sides and what happened. A chaotic 15 minutes in that second half from both sides. The Nottingham Forest keeper, mate, test him because the saves he was making was unbelievable also. Chelsea missed chances. Sanchez kept us in it with the chances that we conceded. And I think the game was, you know, we were dominating play. We were just frustrated to break down a low block, which we were expecting. Palmer still managed to grab an assist, even though he had like 2 or 3 men on him. So it's just, he's had an unbelievable season so far. Madueke, very frustrating, but did get the goal. And I think overall, he had a good game. But yeah, this is a learning curve. We're a team in progress. We're a work in progress where we're at a net positive this season. We are miles better than where we were last season going into this international break. And I'm hoping that we can hit the ground running in that first fixture against Liverpool after the international break. They're my thoughts and opinions. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you watch the game? Did you just see highlights? Do you agree with my analysis? Let me know your thoughts. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you are new around here, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell because that way you'll be notified every single time I upload a video talking Chelsea. And at this part of the video, a thumbnail will appear on the screen. If you like Chelsea content or like this video, make sure you click the thumbnail because you'll enjoy that too.